What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Love After Lockup Season 5, Episode 9, Escaping with Joy. Speaking of, let's start right there with Red and Joy. So, Red and Joy head back to Red's mother's house because he just had his hair retwisted at the salon. So now they're back at his mother's house. And Red tells his mom that he's about to dip out of Missouri and start heading off to New Mexico with Joy. And so the family questions, what is the rush? You just got out of prison. You've only been home for 2 days. Why do you have to rush to New Mexico so soon? So Joy says that she just wants the best for Red. And the cousins tell him that you need to encourage him to stay and spend a little bit more time with his family. His cousin says, it's not like we want you to stay for a whole year. We just want you to stay for a couple of more weeks. The cousins talk about how they all kind of grew up like siblings, even though they were all cousins. They grew up like siblings. And so they're very, very close to Red. And the mother is also like, I don't understand why you have to head back so soon. Red talks about how Joy has to get back to work and that, his priority now is Joy and his son. So he has to head back and start being this family man. So he says that Joy is his life. He says that his son is his life. And I know that the family was chomping at the bit to say, that's not your son. That's not your son, because you haven't even seen the little boy like in person in real life. So what are you talking about? Your son is your life. So his cousins get mad and they storm out of the house. They're knocking over chairs. The mom gets upset. She storms back into her room. So a little bit after that, the sister comes home with dinner. Okay, she comes home with pizza and she's like, what the hell is going on here? Because all she sees is Joy and Red. Everybody else is gone. The chairs are all knocked over in the living room. And so Red tells his sister, you should have been here because it really went down. They got mad at me because I'm about to go back to New Mexico and they want me to stay. So the mom comes back out and she says that, I was the one that would travel through the rain and the snow and the dark, coming to see you in prison. I was making all of those trips, down those dark, scary roads by myself to come and see you. Joy was nowhere to be seen. So, he keeps on talking about, well, this is my wife now and I got to be here for my wife. And the mom is like, what you mean your wife? You're not even married. Joy says that she doesn't feel accepted and she doesn't feel like she's a part of the family. Why would you be accepted, Joy, and feel like these people are going to welcome you with open arms? You never visited the man. You cheated on him multiple times. You had a baby on him when you claimed that you loved him and he was your whole life. Now you're taking him away from his family. You're not encouraging him to stay and spend a little bit more time. You're taking him away from his family once again. So why would they oh, Joy, we love you. You're part of the family. We accept you. Why would they feel that way towards you? When all you've done is completely disrupt everything. So it seems like he is hell bent on leaving and going to New Mexico. And, Joy acts like she's really got a man by her side. Little does she know that when she dropped him off at the hair salon, he was talking to a whole nother girl and trying to make plans to see this other girl. So I'm just trying to figure out if they're about to head out to New Mexico like the next day or something, when is he going to come around, or when is he going to have the time to see this new girl or this other girl, his so-called best friend? But we did see the teaser for next week's episode. And, when there's a will, there's a way, because he found a way to go see his other boo. So, Joy, you're making a fool out of yourself. This man is making you look like a clown. And, yeah, this is not a man. This is not a husband. This ain't your boyfriend. He's for the streets, sweetheart. Your boy Red is for the streets. He's for everybody. Moving on to Andy and Britney. So Britney's been out of prison now for 3 whole days. And when they said that, when they put up the little thing on the screen that said, she's been out for 3 days, I was like, oh my God, this woman has lived like 6 lifetimes in these 3 days with this man. So she is still waiting on the rest of her $700, because when she was still behind bars, Andy had promised her that when she got out, she was going to get a phone, clothes, plus $1,200. He's only given her $5 so far, and they've been arguing about the rest of the money. He claims that there was fraud on his account and he can't go to the ATMs and get any money. Like, he's very limited on how much money he can get out. And, she completely pokes holes through that lie. There was no fraud on his account. He can get as much money as anybody else can get it out of the ATM. I know that there's a limit, but you can get as much money as anybody else can get out of the ATM machine. So, she's poking through all of his lies. So Britney tells him that if he can't get the $700, he needs to at least get her $5, because he told her that the limit that he can take out on the weekend is $500. And so she's like, okay, then let's go. No, she didn't say let's go. She said go get it. So he tells her, well, if you want me to get the $500, you're going to have to come with me. When he said that, I was like, yeah, this man is definitely controlling, because I didn't see any need for her to have to go with him to get the money. Like, why can't she stay at the house? Why you go get the money? But he was insistent on her going. So they go to the car and she keeps on like trying to stall, right? Because she's like, well, I don't know if I feel safe because you're so angry right now, and I don't feel safe driving with you. Are you sure that we're just going to go to the ATM and then come right back, and we're not going to go anywhere else? And he's like, girl, shut up and get in this damn car. So she gets to the car. He tells her to put her seatbelt on, and she's like, why do I have to put my seatbelt on? And he's like, because it's the law. So she's acting like she's really scared to drive with him or to ride with him because he's so mad. She thinks that he's going to be very erratic on the road and they're going to crash. She's just putting 20 on 10. So Britney tells us that she feels very stuck and hopeless. Girl, get unstuck and go find some hope, because I don't understand why you're acting like this man is keeping you prisoner. She feels like she's stuck because she's waiting on this damn money. If it wasn't for the money, girl, you could have been gone. If you're so like not into him and afraid of him because he's so controlling and he's this big, mean, angry man, then girl, just leave. First of all, as soon as you got out of prison, you knew that you weren't going to waste no time with him. But you traveled all the way to his town or his city to act like you're going to go live with him because you're chasing this money. And I'm beginning to wonder, is she still really using, because the way she is so desperate to get this money, this little chump change, this $500, like, are you using? Is that what's going on, Britney? Because why don't you just worry about getting the money yourself, or getting the money from your family, or borrowing it from somebody else? So, they get to the ATM machine and he's so discombobulated because he has to like open up the door a little bit to be able to utilize the buttons on the ATM machine, that he actually like smashed his door into the ATM machine pretty hard because he's just so out of his mind over this woman. So he gets the $500, and of course she's going to count it, and it was all there. Britney tells us how he lied about, he's been lying to her the entire time, and he's really controlling. Yes, I do see some control in him, but I'm thinking that there's no justification for being controlling. But I think in his mind, he feels like he has to like keep her on a very short leash because he knows that he's losing her. He knows that Britney is trying to make other plans to get the hell out of there and just to leave him. And I think that's the reason why he's like always needing to be right next to her, because he's trying to spend as much time with her as possible and keep her from going anywhere. So Britney doesn't want the car or the phone. She tells us that even though she's not on papers anymore, she's not on parole or probation, that she doesn't want the car because if she gets stopped, she's going to get arrested because the car is not in her name. She doesn't want the cell phone anymore because, it's a $500 cell phone, and I guess she doesn't want to be accused of stealing it because if it's over a certain amount, it's considered a felon. And so she leaves the phone in the car on the passenger seat when they get back to the house. She doesn't even take the phone inside with her because she's about to dip. She's about to leave. So she doesn't want nothing of him on her. And I guess also she doesn't want the phone either because she doesn't want him to be able to track her and figure out where she's at. So Britney gets her stuff together, right? She goes straight to her room. She's got her box, which she still hasn't unpacked. She gets her bag, her overnight bag, and she's acting like she's about to leave. And he's like, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm getting my stuff together. And he's like, for what? And she says, I think she said she was about to leave. And the excuse that she gives him, once again, I can't be with you because you've lied to me this whole entire time. I don't trust you. You're a liar. And he's like, what did I lie about? And she says, you lied about being a girl dad. It's like, what? He does have daughters. What are you talking about? You lied about being a good dad. You lied about getting along with children. I mean, he got along with his son really well. His son lives with him. And I have no idea. I guess she's going all the way back to when his daughters had said to him something about how our dad wasn't around when we were growing up, or when he took custody of us. We hardly saw him. He says he was on the road. He was a truck driver and a police officer and whatever else. So he says he was working. The kids make it look like, or his daughters make it look like, he just abandoned them. So she said, you weren't a good dad, and makes it, she says all this stuff. It's all BS. She's just making up excuses, because on Love After Lockup, people have stayed with the ex-convicts, or they have stayed together, whether it's with the ex-convict or with the one that's not a convict. People have stayed together with issues 1,000 times worse than this. They've decided to stay together and overlook all of these red flags. So we all know that it's not because of this. She just doesn't like him. She's never liked him. She was just using him. He was just a trick for her. That's all it was. And she just has to come up with an excuse of why she can't live with him and why she can't be with him. So she goes outside, and some random guy on a bike is riding past her, and she stops him and asks him, "Can I use your phone?" And he's like, "I don't have a phone," or whatever. And then she's asking him, "Well, do you know where I can find a phone?" Like, what? What the hell kind of a question is that? Do you know where I can find a phone? He's like, "I'm sorry, I don't." So evidently she's trying to get in contact with somebody and get the hell on out of there. While she's outside looking for a phone, I don't know where she expects to find one, like in the bushes, on the street. Like, what are you doing? Can you go to, do you mean, can you find a phone store? Are you looking for a store that sells phones? I'm looking for a phone. So he's inside the house, and her daughter, Gracie, calls him because she tried to call her mom, but she does not answering because she left the phone in his car. So Gracie calls Andy instead, and she's looking for her mom. And Andy's like, "I don't know. She's somewhere around here." As if he lives in this, like, humongous mansion. He doesn't know what room she's in. He's like, "I don't know. She's somewhere around here." And she's like, "Well, if you see my mom, can you please have her call me?" And he's like, "Sure, we'll do." So, probably yeah, oh yeah, so she's gone. I don't know what she's doing out there, where she's gonna find this phone, but yeah, I guess she's on her way out. And Andy, if you feel like a fool, you really should. You really, really should feel like a fool, because I would not have given her that five. You went to the ATM machine, you gave her that $500, and she's still trying to leave. And I know he thought that if he would have given her that money, she would have stayed a little bit longer. You gave her that money, and she's still trying to leave. And she don't want your phone, and she don't want your car. That's letting you know, Andy, that she is done. Moving on to Krock and Britney. So Krock says that even though he's upset about Britney quitting beauty school or cosmetology school, he supports her in her decision. He's like, well, if she feels like this is the best thing for her, as her partner, all I can do is support her. So they're in the kitchen with Krock's mom, and Krock and his mom, they're talking about, her surviving cancer and how she, got through all of her treatments. And Krock says, "Mom, you're the first person in our family to beat this. So you're a really strong woman." So that was a really nice moment. So then Krock's mom asks them, "So what are your plans for the day?" And Britney says, "Well, we have an appointment with the doctor to talk about IVF." So she's talking about, the whole IVF process. And Krock's mom was like, "Well, I don't know why y'all just don't adopt." And Britney says that she really wants to experience pregnancy. And she understands that the child that she's going to carry is not going to be her biological child, but she just wants to go through that experience of, I guess, being pregnant. Krock interrupts her and says that they shouldn't even be talking about kids because they're not ready to have them. He just got out of prison. She's only 22 years old. So, and he's trying to get his career started. So he's like, we're not even at that point in our lives. We should even be thinking about children. And so then Britney steps in and says, "But, we're going to go through IVF. And so we have to start the process now because IVF is not guaranteed that you're going to have a baby at the end of it all. So we're going to go through a lot of rounds, maybe multiple rounds of IVF. And, it's gonna be a process. We don't know if it's gonna work, so we need to start now, because even though we'll start now, we may not have a baby until like 5 years from now." So they get to the doctor's office, and the doctor says that if they plan on doing this IVF, they need to do the egg retrieval sooner than later. And the doctor tells them once again that Krock is gonna have to get off the testosterone, get on estrogen, the breasts are going to grow, the voice is going to sound more feminine. So it's not only is it going to affect K-Rock physically, it's also going to affect K-Rock mentally, and just kind of like preparing them. So if K-Rock is affected mentally, Britney, you're also going to be affected mentally. And so then the doctor says, once we get you off the testosterone and we start this whole egg retrieval process, once that's over, basically once we get the eggs out, then you can go back to your testosterone. And so Brittany looks at him and Brittany's like, you see, it's not going to even take that long. You're not going to be off of it that long. You can get right back on it. But if it's going to be possibly multiple rounds of IVF, that means that K-Rock is going to be constantly bouncing back and forth between the testosterone and the estrogen and the testosterone and the estrogen. So that's going to wreak havoc on his body. So the doctor asked K-Rock, are you done with your transitioning, or do you plan on getting any type of future surgeries? And K-Rock says that he wants to get the surgery to remove the breast and also sex reassignment surgery. And so that's a lot going on. And on top of that, going through IVF, I don't think so. So because K-Rock has to go through all of this, I just don't see them doing IVF anytime soon. Because I think with K-Rock, the transitioning is going to be a major, major priority. So then K-Rock says to the doctor something about how when he was born with a twin. Unfortunately, he was born with a twin brother. And the brother ended up passing away at birth. And he says that when he was born, the doctors realized that there was more testosterone in him than estrogen. So he had more male hormones than female hormones. And that when he was younger, girls would pick on him because I guess he was more boyish. And so his point was, people are born this way. This is not a life that I chose. My hormones were, the way they were. I had more male than female. So I've always felt more like a guy than a girl. And this is not like I'm making this choice. This is just how my body is. And so I just don't know, because at the end of it all, K-Rock looked directly at us at that camera and he was like, I ain't having no kids. I don't want no kids. So I don't know. My question now is, Brittany, I understand this whole thing of carrying K-Rock's baby. I get it, why you want to carry K-Rock's baby. But at this point, because K-Rock is, trying to do other things with the transitioning, why don't you just use your own eggs? I don't understand. Unless it's like it's a non-negotiable for K-Rock that any child that they have has to be his biological child. If it's not that important for the child to be biologically connected to, just do the IVF and the egg retrieval and use your own eggs, Brittany. I don't understand. You're going to lose an entire relationship because I don't get it. I don't know. I'm not living that life, so I don't know. I really can't speak on it, but on the outside looking in, I don't understand why Britney just doesn't use her own eggs, because K-Rock doesn't want to stop his transitioning. He doesn't want to stop the hormones and all that other stuff. Moving on to Mikey and Chelsea. So they go out to eat on his sister's dime because they're broke. Chelsea, her benefits got cut off, and obviously Mikey doesn't have any money. So they go out to eat, and during this dinner, we find out that Chelsea only dates hearing men. She does not date deaf men. She prefers hearing men. So then Mikey asks, when are they going to, consummate their relationship? When are they going to have sex? And Chelsea says that she's not an easy lay. She's like, hey, I'm not one of those girls that are just going to sleep with anybody. And Mikey's like, I'm not anybody. We've been together for 2 years. We've been boyfriend and girlfriend for 2 whole years. I'm not just anybody. It's not like we just met. So, back at the hotel, she decides that she's going to tell him why she is holding off on sex. And she says that her previous boyfriend had violated her, and he assaulted her, and it happened multiple times. And this is the reason why she is just kind of not ready for that. And she says that she's still trying to heal and she's still trying to process all of that. So just mentally, she's just not there. She's not in that space. And the sweetest thing, if if Mikey's not playing us, the sweetest thing was that Mikey understood. He was very sympathetic. He was extremely patient with her. And he says that however long it takes for her to feel comfortable, I will be here for her, waiting for her. I'm not going to rush her. We're going to go on her time. So I'm just going to be here to love her, support her, and take care of her. And, it's going to be her decision whenever she's ready. If Mike's not playing us, that was the sweetest thing ever. So the next day they have to leave the hotel because they're broke. She ain't got no money and she can't afford to be paying for this hotel. So they're going to go stay with Mikey's sister. There was like a really cute moment where they stopped by a music shop, and because he's really into music, and he decided like he wanted to play the piano or the keyboard. And so the music store owner told her to sit on the amplifier so that she can feel the vibrations of the notes that he was playing. And then after that, she was able to feel the vibrations of his voice because, obviously she can't hear. So she put her hands like on his neck, and she was like holding his neck like this as he was talking so she could feel the vibrations of his vocal cords. And, that was sweet. And he was like, I have a deep voice, don't I? And so then, he talks about how much he loves her and how Chelsea's the only woman for him, and, just, expressing his love for Chelsea and how much he really cares for this woman. So when they get back to the next time that we see them, she's about to leave to go back to Ohio. So she's packing up her stuff at his sister's house. And Chelsea says that she is worried about Mikey talking to his ex. And I'm like, girl, you don't have to worry about it. I don't think he's going to talk to his ex. I don't think Mike is going to talk to his ex. He might be talking to somebody else, but I don't think he's gonna talk to his ex. And so, Chelsea, it's time for her to say goodbye. And Mike and his sisters are so sweet, they treated her really, really well. And his mom was also really sweet. So this is a really good family. And I really like Mikey. And I like Mikey and Chelsea together. So they say their goodbyes, proclaim their love for each other. And unless Mikey's running game, I think that, this is a good couple. And I think Mike is just the sweetest guy. But did y'all see Mikey when he had on that black tank top, when he was helping her with her suitcase, and all he had on was this black tank top, and you saw his prison muscles? When you're ready, Chelsea, take notes. Let us know. Moving on to Louie and Melissa. Louie's been out for a month. When we see Louie, he's in his truck and he's driving to work. He's back to civilian life. And so Melissa says that Louie cannot do anything by himself. Every little thing he has to call her, to decide what he needs to do and how to do it because he doesn't know what's going on. So Melissa wants him to be a little bit more independent. And, but I'm like, okay, girl, but he's been incarcerated for 10 years, and the way that how quickly technology moves, it's understandable that he's going to need some help. And he can't really rely on his mom because she probably doesn't know what the hell's going on with technology either. Melissa's frustrated that Louie is really complacent. He's been on a couple of job interviews, but he didn't get the job. He's okay working at the pizzeria, that's owned by his friend. So Melissa wants him to do something more. Basically, she wants him to make more money. His little, the little money that he's making at the pizzeria that's not going to cut it for her. So she basically just wants him to move up in the world and make more money. And he acts like he's cool working at the pizzeria. So she's frustrated with that as well. So then Louie tells her, I have a surprise for you. So they're talking on the phone, right? Because she's back in New Jersey. And he tells her that he bought a car for $5,500. Well, she was not happy about that whatsoever because he still owes her $4,500 for his teeth. Right? She's going to be paying for his dental surgery, and she wants that money to be paid back to her. But the $5,500 that he had, he blew it on a used car. So she's like, how do you even know that the car is good? He goes, well, the salesman told me. And she's like, yeah, the guy that was trying to sell you the car told you that the car was in mint condition. So she thinks that he's making dumb decisions. And she's like, how could you do that? How could you buy this car without even consulting with me first? And he's like, Melissa, you just told me that you want me to be more independent, and I made my own independent decision to buy this car. So pick a side, Melissa. Do you want him to make choices on his own, or do you want to hold his hand, every step of the way? So After that, we see Melissa with her sister. They go to the massage parlor. They talk about Louie. The sister tells her that Louie will always be an addict and that she needs to keep her guards up. And Melissa's like, he's not an addict. And his sister's like, once an addict, you're always an addict. It's always a struggle. So yes, he is an addict. And the sister talks about her own experience with her ex, the father of her child, who ended up passing away from a drug overdose. And so Melissa thinks that the sister is just kind of like deflecting her issues on her because she's like, my sister went through a lot with her ex, but that's not me and Louie. Louie is not an addict. He's overcome his drug issues. He's good. He's clean. I'm not worried about that. Melissa's worried about other things, him talking to other girls, him being more independent, and then making more money. So she's got her plate full with that. She cannot add the fact that, or the possibility that he may be an addict on top of everything else. She's going to lose her mind. So the sister thinks that Melissa is making a big mistake. Melissa herself is worried that maybe her family was always right about Louie and that maybe he wasn't the best choice for her. But we're going to see them on Life After Lockup. I wonder if Chelsea and Mikey are going to be on Life After Lockup. I really hope so because I'm really interested in how their story is going to develop. Anyway, I've kept y'all way too long. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video if you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye. What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Married at First Sight Season 17, Episode 3, Hard Launch. Y'all, this whole entire episode, I was so happy. I loved this whole entire episode. This episode right here, I was loving everybody. I was loving all the couples. I had so much hope for everybody. I wanted everybody to make it to the end. I wanted everybody to say yes on decision day. I want all of them to stay married for the rest of their lives and have big, beautiful, chubby, bouncing babies. And I just wanted all to work out for every single one of these couples. But then I remembered that the wedding days always do this to me. They get me all up in my feels. They get me so emotional. I'm just cheesing from beginning to end. So I don't know, if I was really sensing like true love blossoming amongst all the couples, or if this is just what the wedding days always do to me every single season. I always get like this, so I don't know. But let's start off with Claire and Cameron. So it's their wedding day. I did not see their wedding in the last episode. I couldn't remember if we saw their whole entire wedding in the last episode, but we didn't. So this is the day that we see their, okay,